متنزه مواها القومي في تنزانيا. هذه هي بلاد الأسود، وقد حان موعد الطعام. مرة في العام يجبر الجفاف الحيوانات الظمأ على الذهاب إلى المكان الوحيد الذي تتوفر فيه المياه على مسافة 100 كيلومتر. هنا يحتشد الأعداء في منطقة صغيرة لدرجة خطيرة. كلهم يبحثون عما ينقذ حياتهم. بالنسبة إلى الأسود فإن الجفاف يجلب صيدا ممتازا وبعض الخصوم الأقوياء. تتقدم بكثافة وبقوة هائلة وهي مسلحة جيدا. إنها الجواميس، وطالما هناك مياه للشرب ستكون ندا للأسود. لكن مع جفاف المياه يوشك توازن القوى أن يتغير في نهر رواها. نهر رواها هو مجرد امتداد رملي في معظمه، ويتدفق في الأراضي الجافة جنوب شرق أفريقيا. تتوقف حياة أو موت حيوانات متنزه رواها الوطني على هذا النهر. نقص المياه مفيد للأسود، فعاجلا أم آجلا كل الحيوانات ستضطر إلى الحضور للشرب، وستكون الأسود في الانتظار ومستعدة للهجوم عند أول مؤشر للضعف. لكن هذه الجواميس محاربة قديمة للأسود. لقد تعاركت من قبل وربحت. ترتحل في قطعان تصل أعدادها إلى المئات وتعتبر قوة مرعبة. حتى العجول الضعيفة محمية بين مرافقيها البالغ وزن أحدهم طنا كاملا، أي 5 أضعاف وزن أسد بالغ. زمرة الأسود الأقل عددا عليها التفكير في صغارها. ذكران و6 إناث يحرسون مجموعة من 3 أشبال. أشبال الأسود تأكل 11 كيلوغراما من اللحم أسبوعيا أثناء نشأتها. جاموس واحد يكفي لإطعام الزمرة كلها لمدة 4 أو 5 أيام. القطيع قوي، لكن عما قريب سيكون على الأسود اختبار قوة دفاع الجواميس، ولن يكون ذلك سهلا. ثور الحراسة قوي ورشيق بشكل مفاجئ، ويستطيع صد هجوم الأسود بسهولة بقرنيه القاتلين. وإن هاجم القطيع زمرة الأسود معا فيمكن لحوافر مئات الجواميس سحق أي أسد في طريقهم. زمرة الأسود تدرك هذا الخطر. قبل أيام داست القطعان الهائجة هذا الشبل، مما تسبب بكسر وركه. لكن إصابة شديدة كهذه تعتبر هنا حكما بالإعدام. لن يستطيع الشبل مجاراة الآخرين. انتظرت الأم أطول مدة ممكنة، لكن جرحه لم يشفى، ولديها صغار آخرون عليها إطعامها. في النهاية على الزمرة المضي في طريقها. حين ترك الصغير وحيدا أصبحت فرصة نجاته ضئيلة. مر شهر منذ هطلت الأمطار، وأصبح النهر مجرد ذكرى. تحت الشمس الحارقة ترتفع الحرارة في منتصف النهار في رواها إلى 40 درجة مئوية. وتنام الأسود البالغة مدة تصل إلى 20 ساعة في اليوم للحفاظ على طاقتها. لكن الأشبال لا تفعل ذلك. فهي متحمسة للعب ولا تعرف بالخطر المحدق. لكن والدتهم تعرف ما عليها فعله. وجدت مجموعة ثيران مهتاجة تتجه إلى قاع النهر بحثا عن العشب الطري. لو كانت فريسة أصغر لكانت هذه وجبتها الأخيرة، لكن الجواميس مجهزة لمواجهة أي تحد. الأسود الصغيرة جاهزة للهجوم، لكن الثور هو المسيطر. وهو يملك الثقة الكافية ليدير ظهره لأعدائه. يستطيع الثور القوي الواثق بنفسه السخرية من خصومه. مما جعل زمرة الأسود تشعر بالمهانة. يبدو أن الجواميس تملك السيطرة في رواها، لكن حيوانا قويا آخر يضع حدا لها. إنه أكبر حيوان بري في العالم، الفيل الأفريقي. الفيل يفوق الجاموس طولا بمترين ويزن 6 أطنان، مما يجعله سيد النهر. يستهلك ما يصل إلى 120 لترا من المياه في اليوم، مما لا يترك للجواميس خيارا سوى التنحي جانبا. هناك أصول صارمة متبعة هنا. الكبير يتنحى أمام الأكبر. الخضوع الذي ظهر على الجاموس شجع الأسود الصغار. يدرسون كل تحركات الثور بانتظار مؤشر للضعف. كبرياء الأسود الصغار جعلها عاجزة عن مقاومة إغراء اختبار مهاراتها للصيد. تقف الأم متفرجة، لأن عليهم أن يتعلموا من أخطائهم. قد تبدو هذه كلعبة القط والفأر، لكن بينما تراقب الأم ارتفعت نسبة المخاطرة. دفعت الأسود ثمنا لجرأتها، وانتهت هذه المعركة. لكن الحرب ستستمر، وقد كسبت الأسود خبرة قيمة قد تستفيد منها في المرة المقبلة. عاد الثور إلى جماعة العازبين، وهو ما زال متوترا بعد مواجهته مع الأسود. تقاعد هؤلاء الذكور المسنين من قطيع التزاوج، وبعد أن فقدوا قدرتهم على إثارة إعجاب الإناث يركزون الآن على وسائل الراحة، وأهمها الطين. وسط الحرارة والجفاف تعتبر أرض طينية رطبة الجائزة الكبرى، فهي تساعد على الوقاية من الشمس والشعور بالبرودة وتبعد عنها الحشرات. يمنح الطين فترة راحة من الحرارة، لكن ذلك لن يدوم. بدأت الأرض تجف، وعما قريب سيجبر الظمأ الأصدقاء والأعداء على الاقتراب من بعضهم لدرجة خطيرة. زمرة الأسود بحاجة ماسة إلى المياه. تحتاج الأسود إلى شرب المياه كل 2 أو 3. لكن النهر يجتذب كثيرين ممن يشاركونهم به، وأحيانا قد لا يكفي حتى لحيوان واحد. الأسود والفيلة ليسوا أعداء في العادة، رغم أن الفيل يمكنه سحق الأسد إن أراد ذلك، وقد عرف أن الأسود تقتل صغار الفيلة. يبقى الطرفان متيقظان، لا مجال للتفاوض بين أسد يزن 130 كيلوغرام وفيل يزن 2700 كيلوغرام. يجب انتقاء المعارك بحذر، وسيتنازلان عن هذه المعركة. بدأت المجموعة تشعر بالجوع، وإن لم تأكل الأسود قريبا فستكون ضعيفة جدا وعاجزة عن الصيد، مما قد يؤدي لمجاعة. مع تضاؤل مخزون طاقتها سيكون عليها تخفيض معاييرها. قد يكون الخنزير الوحشي الأفريقي صغيرا، لكن يصعب صيده حين يشعر بالخطر. تعتمد الأسود على نصب الكمائن، فهي قادرة على العدو السريع لمسافات قصيرة. تعتمد الأسود على اللحم للتزود بالطاقة، وتقسيم الخنزير الإفريقي البري بين بعضها يمنحها مجرد وجبة خفيفة. رغم أن الذكر لم يشارك في الصيد، إلا أنه ينال الحصة الأكبر. ويسيطر على الصيد بحجمه البالغ ضعف حجم الأنثى. على الإناث الانتظار أو صيد فريسة أخرى. وسط حرارة منتصف النهار الحارقة سادت متنزه رواها هدنة غير مستقرة. في هذا المكان الأسود والجواميس أعداء مقربون، فهي متعادلة في القوة وتعيش حربا باردة على حافة العنف. تعتمد الآن على فترة ركود تتيح لها الراحة والرعي. لكن كلا الطرفان لا يستطيعان التخلي عن الحذر. في هذا المكان المغلق الأرض غالية، وغالبا ما يتم تجاوز حدود الآخرين. عندما تتصرف الأسود بجرأة تواجهها الجواميس بجرأة أيضا. الرسالة واضحة، لكن هذا الأسد الصغير الساذج ما زال مصرا على اختبار الحدود، حتى ولو كان ذلك لمدة قصيرة. الأسود متعبة ولا تستطيع النوم لمدة 20 ساعة مع وجود الجواميس، وبدلا من ذلك فهي تأخذ قيلولة قصيرة حين يتاح لها ذلك، مع التيقظ بما يكفي للشعور باقتراب فريسة محتملة مثل الإمبالا. على الإمبالا التيقظ باستمرار من الأسود، ويبقى قريبا من قردة الرباح التي تصدر صرخة تحذير عند اقتراب مهاجمها. ستكون قردة الرباح النحيلة بأمان طالما الإمبالا موجود لتحمل الضغط. تعتبر هذه فرصة جيدة للأشبال لشحذ مهاراتها في الصيد. الدرس الأول هو التسلل لمهاجمة الفريسة دون أن تراه، لكن هذا الصغير يفتقر إلى الصبر المطلوب. وأفسد خطأ الشبل الصيد. في غياب الإمبالا الذي يجتذب الأسود، تتحول قردة الرباح إلى هدف الأسود الرئيسي. توفر لها الأشجار العالية بعض الأمان، لكنه ليس كافيا. تستطيع الأسود تسلق الأشجار، لكن هذه الأغصان لا تحمل أسدا يزن 90 كيلوغراما. لذا يقبل الشبل ببعض المضايقات. حان الوقت لتمضي الأسود في طريقها، فوجودها هنا واضح جدا، وما زالت بحاجة إلى وجبة حقيقية. يمكن للأسود أن تقطع أكثر من 30 كيلومترا للعثور على منطقة جديدة للصيد. رغم أن منطقتها فسيحة، إلا أنها تسلك طريقا ضيقا وتبقى قريبة من قاع النهر المتضائل ومن الفرائس الضعيفة. يكشف ضوء النهار تغيرا مفاجئا لدى الزمرة. رفضت إحدى الإناث التقدم مع بقية المجموعة. ولديها سر، عيون أشبالها البالغين من العمر بضعة أيام لم تتفتح بعد. إنها عاجزة ولا يمكنها السفر. لن يستطيعوا الانضمام إلى بقية الزمرة قبل مرور شهر على الأقل. أما الآن فالتمويه الطبيعي هو وسيلتها الوحيدة للدفاع، وإن استطاعت حمايتها فستصبح يوما ما سلاحها السري. في هذه المنطقة تستطيع الأسود أن تتحول إلى صخور بسهولة. هذا الإمبالا الجاهل توجه إلى فخ قاتل. لكن المهاجم تردد، فقد رأت الزمرة فرصة أكبر. إنه ظبي الكودو. تمويه الأسود متقن لدرجة أنها تبدو كما لو كانت تتفجر من داخل الأرض. حين تتعاون الأسود بهذه الطريقة يمكنها التغلب على فريسة بضعف حجمها. البقاء مع الزمرة أكثر من مجرد ميزة اجتماعية بالنسبة إلى الأسود، بل عاملا حاسما في الحصول على الطعام. مع توفر فريسة تزن 180 كيلوغراما يحظى الجميع بحصة في الوليمة. فوجبة الأسود التالية ليست مضمونة، لذا فهي تأكل بنهم حين تحظى بفرصة، ويلتهم كل منها من 25 إلى 40 كيلوغراما من اللحم. ولكن هناك حدود. إن تمكنت من الاحتفاظ بوجبتها عليها مواجهة النتائج. في الساعات القليلة القادمة ستشعر الأسود بالإنهاك والإرهاق. إنها راحة تستحقها، لكنها لن تستطيع هضمها بسلام. ففي نهاية فترة ما بعد الظهر هاجمتها حشرة تمتص الدماء. إنه وباء هائل، ولا ينجو منه حتى الأسد القوي. ذبابة تسيتسي تحمل مرضا قاتلا ويدعى مرض النوم، ويمكنه تسميم الإنسان والحيوان. مع الوقت تكونت لدى الأسود والحيوانات البرية الأخرى مقاومة للمرض، لكن ذلك لم يحدث للمواشي، لذا يعجز المزارعون عن تطوير رواها إلى مزارع للمواشي. بفضل الذباب يبقى الأسود ملوكا هنا، لكنها تدفع الثمن من دمائها. يشير وجود الذباب إلى وصول موسم الجفاف إلى أسوأ مراحله. المعركة الدائرة بين الأعداء المقربين توشك أن تثور. أصبح متنزه رواها الآن حارا جدا. أقل حركة تتطلب طاقة ومياه، وثمة حاجة حتى إلى منطقة صغيرة مظللة. تشعر الجواميس بالضغط، وبدأت تفقد الوزن وتضعف. ودون المياه ستفقد كل وسائل الدفاع ضد زمرة من الأسود الجائعة. مع اختفاء الحفر المائية في متنزه رواها الوطني، على الجواميس على امتداد النهر الجاف قطع مسافة تصل إلى 27 كيلومترا في اليوم لتشرب. السفر في جماعات يوفر بعض الحماية لأعضاء القطيع الضعاف والمصابين بالجفاف، لكن في هذا الجفاف تكسب الأسود مزيدا من النفوذ. على الزمرة اختيار اللحظة الملائمة بعناية. هذا الثور المستكشف يشك بوجود خطر، لكن الظمأ يدفع القطيع إلى التقدم. فرقت الضفاف المنحدرة القطيع وعرضت دفاعاتها المعتادة للخطر. تتعرض الجواميس إلى الخطر الأكبر حين تشرب الماء، لذا فقد أصبحت متيقظة بشكل ملاحظ. حناجرها الواسعة تمكنها من استيعاب 30 لترا خلال 6 دقائق. تشم بأنوفها رائحة الخطر في الأجواء، وتصغي بآذانها الحساسة إلى المؤشرات الأولى للمتاعب. كان هذا تحذيرا كاذبا من قرد رباح صغير، لكن حين ينطلق أحد الجواميس تنطلق كلها، وتستجيب بشكل جماعي للتهديد القادم كوحدة واحدة. قد يبدو القطيع عشوائيا، لكنه في الواقع على درجة عالية من التنظيم. الإناث والعجول في الوسط، والثيران عند الحواف كحائط دفاعي، ويقود الطريق ثيران الاستكشاف ذو الخبرة. وهناك أيضا طائر نقار الثور فوقه للمراقبة. نقار الثور يلتقط أكثر من 7000 قرادة في اليوم، وهي مكافأة مشبعة مقابل الخدمة الشخصية التي يقدمها. كما أنه يزود الثور برؤية شاملة لكشف الخطر أثناء اقترابه. لقد وجدت الأسود شيئا ما. خاطر بعض العازبين بالابتعاد عن القطيع، واقتربوا من المياه للرعي. طيور نقار الثور تقوم بواجب الحراسة. تعطي الطيور الإشارة، لكن ردة الثور كانت بطيئة. لقد خسر الوقت رغم أنه سريع، لكنها ستستهدف الثور ذا الذيل المقطوع الذي فاجأه الهجوم. على الثور مواجهة الأسود وجها لوجه ليمنعها من التشبث به من الخلف. تعلم الأسود أن عليها تجنب قرني الثور الحادين اللذين يمكنهما اختراق جلدها بسهولة. تعارك هذا الثور مع الأسود من قبل وخرج من العراك حيا، لكنه خسر ذيله. ساعدته الخبرة على النجاة بأعجوبة. لم يحالف الحظ الأسود هذه المرة. على بعد بضعة كيلومترات تواجه اللبؤة الأم الشابة مشاكلها الخاصة. ثمة كلاب برية في المنطقة. هذه طقوس ما قبل الصيد، فيما تجهز نفسها للانقضاض. وتلحق بها الضباع التي تسعى إلى البقايا. تشكل الكلاب والضباع تهديدا قاتلا لأشبال الأسود. على الأم نقل أشبالها من مكانها كل بضعة أيام لمنعها من تعقب آثار الرائحة مسافة تصل إلى نصف كيلومتر في كل مرة. تحملهم الواحد تلو الآخر للاقتراب من النهر للحاق ببقية الزمرة. تسبب الجفاف في تركز قطعان عدة حول ضفاف هذا النهر الآخذ في التلاشي. محاولات صيد الجواميس الفاشلة تركت زمرة الأسود جائعة. تحتاج الأسود إلى تناول الطعام ثانية وعما قريب. يعني ذلك أن عليها اختيار هدف أسهل هذه المرة، فقد فشلت في عمليات صيد عدة، وقد تتضور الأسود جوعا. قد تكون الحمر الوحشية سريعة، لكن الأهم من ذلك خلوها من القرون. هذه هي الفريسة التي تستطيع اللبؤة مهاجمتها بمفردها. تطبق على القصبة الهوائية بهجوم فردي، فتموت الضحية نتيجة الاختناق. مهارة هذه الصيادة تشكل ثروة للزمرة. بينما تنام الأسود للراحة بعد تناول الطعام، توشك الأشبال على بدء تناول طعامها في عرينها. احتياجات هذه الحيوانات المفترسة أثناء نشأتها تزيد الضغوط على والدتها. بدون مساعدة الزمرة تتحمل مسؤولية إطعام نفسها وصغارها. الأشبال لا تأكل اللحم بعد، لكن الأم بحاجة إلى تناول الغذاء الكافي لترضع الصغار. صيد الجاموس سيكفي عائلتها لمدة أسبوع، لكن الهجوم الفردي ضد قطيع جواميس يعتبر مخاطرة. تتوافد مئات الجواميس من كل الجهات لتقاسم البرك الأخيرة المتبقية من المياه. لم يبق إلا القليل، وعليها أن تشرب بالتناوب. اليأس والتنافس يشتت المجموعة. دفاع القطيع ينهار، وهناك خطر تحول الإناث والعجول الصغيرة لفرائس سهلة. على اللبؤة استغلال هذه الفوضى. لا يمكنها التغلب على جاموس بالغ بمفردها، لكنها قد تستطيع عزل أحد العجول. حاصرت الأم إحدى أفراد القطيع وهي بقرة بالغة، ووصلت المساعدة في الوقت المناسب. أنثى خبيرة من الزمرة الرئيسية تساعد على تثبيت البقرة. تحاول جاهدة التمسك بالجلد القاسي بمخالبها. حان الآن دور الأم لتقوم بدورها. إن استطاعت القبض على الأنف الحساس فستتمكن اللبؤتان من السيطرة على الجاموس. هذا هو الجزء الأصعب والأخطر من الصيد، لأن قرني الجاموس يمكنهما أن يكونا قاتلين. التغلب على الجاموس يتطلب عملا جماعيا حذرا وجسورا، ولم يبق وقت طويل. أكثر الفضوليين هي طيور نقار الثور التي تستغل الموقف. سيتعافى هذا الجرح في النهاية تحت شمس إفريقيا الحارقة، مما سيترك القطيع مع ندب جديدة من الحرب مع الأسود. حين تتقدم الجواميس في السن قد تفقد قرونها، لكن ليس هناك سلاح قادر على حمايتها من خصمها الغادر، الجفاف. الآن اختفى العشب ويوشك الماء أن يختفي أيضا. سواء كان الحيوان صغيرا أم كبيرا، فإن رحلة البحث عن الماء تعتبر هجرة عصيبة. لكن البرك المتبقية طينية وملوثة لدرجة تجعل حتى الفيلة ترفضها. وتفضل الحفر تحت الرمال حيث يتصفى الماء بشكل طبيعي. معظم المخلوقات تتدبر أمورها بصعوبة وتتنازع باستمرار. سوء الحظ الذي يواجهه الجبل يسر الزمرة فقط. لكن شهية الأسود توشك أن تزداد. حان الوقت لتعرف الأم أشبالها على الزمرة. عند بلوغها الأسابيع الستة أصبحت أخيرا قوية بدرجة تمكنها من الانضمام للمجموعة. لكن كيف ستتقبل الزمرة 3 أشبال جدد يحتاجون لمن يعيلهم؟ القرار يعود إلى الذكر المسيطر. إن لم تكن الأشبال صغاره فلن يتردد في قتلها، لكن بصفته الوالد فسيدافع عنها بكل قوته. يشير الانضمام إلى الزمرة إلى أهم طقوس البلوغ للأشبال، وهو الانتقال من حليب الأم إلى اللحم الطازج. حين تتبع الكبار أثناء الصيد ستبدأ تعلم دروس مهمة للبقاء. لم تعد مسؤولية رعاية الأشبال تقع على عاتق الأم فقط، فالزمرة ستتقاسم المسؤولية الآن، لكن ذلك لن يكون سهلا. فوجودها يزيد عدد أفراد الزمرة، إضافة إلى انتهاء أفضل مواسم صيد الفرائس الكبيرة. عما قريب ستهطل الأمطار من جديد، وستستطيع القطعان الرحيل عن ضفاف نهر رواها. بعد انتهاء عملية التعريف يتم نقل الأشبال إلى مكان آمن بينما تستعد الزمرة للمعركة. قد تكون هذه هي الفرصة الأخيرة في هذا الموسم لزمرة الأسود المتنامية في منتزه رواها الوطني لصيد جاموس. المخاطر كثيرة، وتحتاج إلى صيد مشبع لمساعدتها حين تعود الجواميس إلى المراعي. فشلت مرات عديدة من قبل، لكن هذه المرة اتخذت الزمرة كل احتياطاتها وهاجمت كفريق واحد. لقد تم تثبيته من الخلف، وعلى الأم محاولة إحكام قبضتها على الرأس والسيطرة على القرنين الخطيرين. تتمسك بأنف الجاموس الحساس. إن استطاعت إيجاد القوة للتمسك به فلم يمضي وقت طويل حتى يموت الجاموس. بلوي الرأس سيتم إغلاق القصبة الهوائية. وصول الذكر يشير إلى النجاح، لقد انتصرت الأسود أخيراً. يصل بقية أفراد الزمرة للمشاركة في الغنائم، لكن الصيادتين بحاجة إلى استعادة قوتهما قبل الانضمام إلى الوليمة. هذه هي أكبر وجبة يتناولونها منذ شهور، وأول وآخر مرة يتناولون فيها لحم الجاموس في هذا الموسم.
They may not be predators, but Cape buffalo are notoriously tough. Not only are they humongous, they're infamous for their quick tempers. And if one feels threatened, its entire herd can unleash its fury.
Early one morning, we were following a herd of buffalo. There was about 350 buffalo in the herd. And while we were following them, they started acting very strangely as if there was predators in the area. And we found 4 young male lions. The buffalo started harassing the lions, and the young males were trying to run away. And in the confusion, they managed to divert one of them, and they chased him.
The buffalo is a herd animal. As soon as one takes a step forward, you almost got your peer pressure to take another step forward. So once a few of them start to make an attack in terms of defending themselves and their youngsters, the buffalo will continue to put the pressure on the lion, and the lion really needs to make a quick escape.
He ran into a tree that had a nice fork in it, and he held himself up in the fork of the tree. His paw, he was starting to shake, and he was looking for a place to jump down. But as he jumped down, he landed right in the middle of the buffalo. They started beating him, they started thrashing him in the air, and as he got on the ground, they were just pushing their horns into him. The lion had been hit numerous times by these buffalo. He was actually lying flat on the ground. I thought he was dead, and then he kind of looked with one eye open, and at the same time, a buffalo came from behind and hit him on the backside, and with the momentum, it lifted him up. He ran away. The buffalo ran right after him, and we were then tailing both of them, and we managed to see him escape, which was absolutely incredible.
In the wild, some feuds are so deep-rooted, they bring out the worst in animals. Lions and hyenas often compete for the same food, and therefore have a long-standing hatred of each other.
Well, I was guiding in a private game reserve in the Sabi Sands, and it was on a night drive. I was following some lions, and they started hunting. We saw eyes up ahead. We heard the lions start running in, and then we heard this huge commotion going on. So we drove up to the scene. It was actually a horrendous sight that we arrived to. This lioness had caught a hyena and was in the process of strangling it and mauling it.
Lions and hyenas are sort of mortal enemies, and it's really because they're so similar in body size. They like eating similar sized prey, and therefore the competition between them is so much more intense.
Another lion came in and savaged it on its hindquarters. You could hear bones cracking and tearing flesh. One thing that struck us was the hatred, that intense hatred that lions have for hyena. They really dislike them immensely.
This has been a traumatic social interaction between the lions and the hyenas. The stresses and the strains and the sort of anxiety were probably being expressed. This is competition at its highest point.
Hyenas often kill lions' offspring, and vice versa. So the lioness uses this as a teaching opportunity.
2 cubs started playing with the hyena, mock attacking it.
They were very safe at this point in time. The hyena was so traumatized and wounded by the whole thing, it wouldn't be able to hurt the cubs. And therefore the lionesses were quite relaxed to allow these cubs to interact and to learn about the hyena.
The hyena did not survive. Erratic breathing was going on, but it died after that interaction. They left the hyena, they didn't feed on it or anything like that. They just savage it, kill it, and then they just move on. Like nothing has happened.
Many of Africa's fiercest predators target the waterbuck, a large antelope. This peaceful creature does have ways of defending itself, even if they're not always successful.
We got a call for Geographic, water bugs inside the water, and then so we rushed from there, and then we saw water bugs hiding in the water. The line is just waiting at the edge of the dam. The line is very, very deep.
The waterbuck seems to think it's safe.
The young water bug starts standing. The water bug standing there. This line is sea water is not deep, so the female line runs straight to the water.
Lions usually enter water as a last resort. But they're good swimmers, able to cross rivers and large bodies of water.
Then bring outside the water, doesn't pull out of the water.
Lionesses do share kills with their pride, but not always willingly.
All the female lions just run in the water and start fighting.
Ultimately, she's outnumbered, and the meal becomes a family affair. Lionesses band together in prides to protect themselves. But male lions know there's strength in numbers too.
We came across two male lions and they seemed very perturbed. We were following them and I looked in my rearview mirror and I thought, what's this? I'm seeing double or something. I saw 4 huge black-maned lions and they made chase of these 2 lions.
2 brothers are being chased by what appears to be a group of 4 related lions. The pair splits up, leaving one surrounded.
You felt like the car was vibrating from this roar. You could actually feel it in your gut. It sounded like they were trying to get a message to these 2 blokes. Get out of here. It is so intense, it is actually frightening.
Experts say it's a pride takeover.
It's 2 old males coming to the end of their range and 4 young males who are quite a tightly bonded coalition of either brothers or cousins saying, hey, it's time for us to take on a new territory, and if you don't want to get out of here, we might just kill you. The 4 of them really circle this old male, each taking their turn to show him that they are younger, they're fitter, they're stronger. He's very submissive. He turns his backside in, he tries to protect his hindquarters, and he certainly doesn't want them to get anywhere near his throat.
Takeovers are often violent, but are the lion's way of removing weak animals to keep the population strong.
When it was finished, I put the camera down and we just sat there, took a deep breath to realize we were in nature.
Small but bold, the honey badger is a peculiar creature. Little is known about their social structure. Honey badgers are mostly seen wandering alone, and that makes even this brave animal vulnerable.
we came across 5 young lions playing and climbing trees and falling off trees, and it was like a comedy act. And we were really enjoying ourselves. And then the lights started going and the lions wandered off.
Suddenly, things take a violent turn.
They caught a honey badger and were trying to kill it. There wasn't anything we could do about it because you've got to leave nature to take its course. And the honey badger fought and fought and fought and fought. And the noise from this honey badger was unbelievable. One was in the front and the other one was at the back, and they were tugging it.
To defend itself, the badger emits a putrid odour.
The smell was unbelievable. It just wouldn't die.
Most of the young lions get bored and leave, but one stays behind.
And the honey badger was scrabbling, trying to get away from it. I think it fought as hard as it could, and I reckon it took about 25 minutes to die. The lions just walked off and didn't even bother to eat it. That had been killed for nothing. But I guess it's an episode that you're never going to see again, and it was an experience.
The tallest animal on Earth. Giraffes are drifters, without a strong social structure. But these usually peaceful animals can become aggressive. These two bulls are locked in a battle for dominance. They are using a form of fighting unsurprisingly known as necking. As the fight intensifies, one of the bulls is cut underneath the eye. The males use their heavy skulls as clubs. Then, a rare turn of events.
Where's the lucky female? That's knocked down.
The challenger hits his opponent just below his skull, giving him a concussion. The victim actually gets 2 blows, the first from his rival, the second when he hits the ground. Now his neck is an easy target for any passing predator.
Fight over, Joe, you won. Jij komt down, jij komt down. Jij komt.
Oh, now I will get you back just now. Just let me catch up with you.
Luckily, the bull is able to walk away, defeated, but alive. The most elusive of the big cats, leopards, rarely blow their cover unless territory is involved. These 2 male leopards have been eyeing each other for days. The younger one, in the front, wants to take over the older one's territory.
In this case, the younger male was slightly bigger than the older one, but the older guy had experience on his side.
A male's domain overlaps with several females, so there's more at stake here than just territory.
It sounded like taking bubble wrap and popping it from the nails going through each other's skin.
is the fight where these guys are going to kill each other, Roger.
And I think very soon after the fight started, the younger guy thought that he bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah, the old guy standing up there.
The animals become so exhausted, they rest side by side, but neither will give up.
They both roll down an embankment, locked in each other. And with the older male biting on the younger guy's head, they landed in a dry riverbed.
It's rare for a battle like this to last so long.
Whether you're the aggressor or whether you're getting the aggression from another animal, either way, you don't want to get injured. You don't want to risk a permanent injury that'll affect your hunting ability in the future. They're both risking permanent damage to themselves.
After 30 minutes, the older male gets the younger leopard's skull in a vice-like bite. It's the final blow.
They separated, they moved apart, they lay about 5 meters apart from each other. The older guy got up again, walked around to the front of him and lay down, showing how big he was, still growling. The younger guy lost his eye. I think one of the canines of the older guy went to the top of his eyelid and pierced his eye, so he's blind today.
It's a huge price to pay for a fight he ultimately lost. Nile crocodiles are ferocious under the best of circumstances. But when water is scarce, the males become even more ill-tempered.
One of the most fantastic things I came across was in the Levubo River in Kruger National Park. I heard this strange noise, like water clashing and everything like that, and I went down to the river, and there I saw the fight of the titans.
One male has intruded on the other's territory and finds himself locked in a death roll.
We were in a very dry season. It was only happening because two males were forced into one pool.
Fights like this usually last for less than an hour, but the animals are so evenly matched, neither can get the upper hand.
This fight was over 3 days. It's crazy. And in the end, one crocodile was eaten up by the others. It's a poor luck of a wildlife filmmaker. When two males come together, it's incredible.
Rhinos use their huge horns to fend off predators. But they also use them to take on each other.
We came around a very wide bend, and there, right before our eyes, were these two rhino absolutely locked in battle.
In Namibia, these two rhinos are waging an unusually brutal fight over a mate. This species of rhino, the southern white rhino, has two horns. The larger horn can grow to 1.5 meters long.
The one appeared to be stronger and fitter than the other one, and far more aggressive. The weaker of the two would keep turning around and trying to run away, and the more aggressive rhino would run up behind him and literally lift him right off the ground with his horn.
The horn is made of compressed keratin fibers, the same material found in fingernails and hair. Yet it can lift more than 3 tons and inflict deadly wounds.
The rear end of the victim was very punctured and bleeding from the amount of times he had been rammed.
These fights usually end when one of the rhinos retreats. But in this case, the more aggressive rhino won't allow the weaker one to quit. It may end up being a fight to the death. African wild dogs live in packs, where there's rarely any infighting. But that's not the case between different packs of dogs.
We found 7 wild dogs, and suddenly there was a lot of noise around us. We heard it all over. Wild dogs running around through the high grass. We had no idea what happened. And suddenly we realized it was not the 7 dogs anymore. It was at least 14 running around everywhere.
The dogs are from rival packs and in the midst of a turf war.
They caught hold of that one dog and they were pulling at him. They were growling.
While some attackers lunge for the victim's throat, others bite him from behind.
The skin on the back, especially the legs, they had ripped it off. It was bloody. I really thought he was finished. The lady in back, she said, "Oh, is he still all right? Is he still all right?"
Most think he's already dead. But they're wrong.
Wow, this is something you will never see in your life. Even the ranger said he lived there his whole life. He'd never seen something like that before.
Unlike many big cat males, cheetahs stick together. The males, usually brothers, live together in what are called coalitions. They mark their territory, which includes the territories of several lone females. The males will kill to defend it, but their fights are rarely caught on tape.
We were out filming one day, and we came across 2 sets of cheetah, which I knew quite well, and there seemed to be a standoff.
2 coalitions, a pair of brothers from the north and one from the south, stare each other down over a shared boundary. The sides are evenly matched, making the fight even more intense.
They'd fight ferociously for a couple of minutes, and then they'd need to rest again.
The stakes are high. If one cat is killed, his surviving brother may not be able to defend his territory alone. As exhaustion sets in, the fighting becomes more chaotic.
They just didn't know who they were anymore. And the fight just got so ferocious that one cheetah actually turned and started attacking its brother without even knowing.
Eventually, the animals are so exhausted, they call a truce. All 4 are badly injured, but survive.
I spent the last 20 years working in the wilds of Africa, and this is the very, very first time I've ever seen cheetah fighting like this.
Wild dogs are among the most skilled hunters in Africa, more successful than lions. But their kills often attract their arch enemy, the hyena.
The Rondolozi Game Reserve was following adult wild dogs. Eventually they caught a young impala. One hyena arrives and thinks he can dominate these 4 wild dogs. So he charges right into the middle of the dogs.
Hyenas and wild dogs, ever since they first came across one another thousands and thousands of years ago, they were never going to be friends. They were never going to be mates. They were never going to get on.
A hyena weighs 3 times as much as a wild dog.
This hyena's got incredibly powerful jaws, so there's no way they're going to hit it face on. Because they know if that hyena even gives them one little nip, it could potentially crush a bone and they'll never hunt for the rest of their lives.
But as a pack, the dogs are powerful. They manage to attack the hyena from behind, where he's most vulnerable.
He started squealing, yowling. Eventually he ran off with his tail between his legs. So in that case, the dogs had successfully defended.
But the dogs don't always come out on top.
We followed the wild dogs, and then at a distance we saw an oribi. By the time we had the vehicle stopped and the camera up, this little antelope was already torn into pieces. We saw these 2 hyenas coming in. One of the hyenas took one of the pieces, and the wild dog saw that.
To defend himself, the hyena backs into a hole.
The hyena obviously knew that its most vulnerable side is the back end, is the blunt end, and the sharp end in the front is the one that needs to do the job. But there's no way that they could have gotten that hyena out of the hole.
Ultimately, the hyena is saved by his quick thinking. When it comes to hunting, leopard cubs must be fast learners. They stay with their mothers for just 2 years before becoming solitary hunters, so practice is key.
We'd been out for about 45 minutes or an hour when we saw the leopard for the first time. The rangers said to us that the leopard was about 19 months old. That particular morning we didn't see the mother. It was playing, it was climbing trees and running around and having a great time. Initially, when the leopard jumped onto the branch, we didn't know there was a nest of oxpeckers there, and neither did the leopard. The leopard suddenly seemed to hear something. We saw it moving towards the end of the branch, and we didn't know what the leopard was trying to do. But obviously what it was trying to do was to get into the nest. Then the first bird flew out of the branch. The leopard caught it. In fact, the bird was still squawking and didn't kill the bird immediately. It was just like a cat playing with a mouse.
Eventually, the leopard eats the bird.
After that, it then went back to the end of the branch, virtually repeated the process again, and caught a second bird.
It's a small snack, but a useful exercise for the future.
It really looked like it was just learning how to hunt, finding its feet, and enjoying itself, quite frankly.
Monitor lizards seem slow and clumsy, but the reptiles can climb, dig, and even wrestle.
We saw these 2 monitors standing in the road. It sort of reminded me of a miniature Jurassic Park scene. They were interlocked and tumbling sort of head over tail, almost doing cartwheels right next to the vehicle. We obviously thought it's 2 males doing some kind of combat behavior.
The The lizards are going head-to-head over a female. The normally solitary males will spend the next few months fighting, then making passes at the opposite sex.
The way a female attracts a mate is by moving around during the mating season, leaving behind a scent of pheromones to an extent. Obviously, you can have 1 or 2 or 3 males that will link up on the same scent trail, and when they get closer to the female, they come into contact with each other, they'll start this combat. For the female, this is a win-win situation. She's all about securing the life of her young, and by doing that, she wants the strongest, most virile male mating with her, and by the males having combat, this is how that's obviously achieved.
It was just incredible to capture that kind of footage for smaller animals. As a scientist and a photographer, it was like a dream come true.
Vultures are known for feeding on the carcasses of other animals, but are rarely hunted themselves. Nature is full of opportunistic eaters, including the small but cunning jackal.
There were some vultures bathing in the water. Suddenly a little black-backed jackal went for one of the vultures. In the past, I've seen jackal, chasing birds like doves and little quail finches, and actually succeeding in catching them. But I think a vulture is a bit big for him because I think they weigh about the same.
One expert says an attack like this is unprecedented.
I have never before seen this kind of interaction between a vulture and a jackal. They do occasionally get aggressive towards each other when they're competing for a carcass, but to see a jackal attack a vulture so persistently and just wear it down is something that I've never seen before. It looks very much like the jackal is actually intending to eat this vulture. I don't think it would have put in that much effort if it was simply a competition issue.
The vulture puts up a good defense, spreading its wings to appear larger and using its powerful beak to stab at the jackal. But the bird's bulk prevents him from flying off and makes him ungainly on the ground. The jackal keeps his prey grounded until he can finally reach its throat. An odd turn of events for two long-time competitors. Male zebras are unpredictable, and they become especially dangerous when breeding or territory come into play.
In my filming, I often cover about things that zebras are fighting, but in this special case, this one developed into a real fight.
Each zebra stallion leads a harem of females. When one goes into heat, stallions fight for her, since a female will remain with her mates for life. But this fight takes an unusual turn.
When the fight went on for about 10-15 minutes, a third zebra stallion came in and stopped the fight. He just looked at that one and there, I didn't like you the last time, I don't like you now, and let's sort it out. The next fight I could film was on a water trough in Kruger Park. The water was getting low, an animal came together, but they were too close together. And when they're too close together, zebras have the tendency to kick to make place. But in this case, the one zebra that got hit couldn't get his head out of the way. After the first kick, I could see it was all over.
One well-placed kick can kill, and this zebra won't stop.
Blow after blow kept coming, and it virtually sealed the fate of the zebra. And it died there on the spot. I felt sorry for it, but you must leave personal feelings out of it, as bad as you feel perhaps. Your job is to record what's happening in nature.
Honey badgers prey on a wide variety of animals, from birds to porcupines. But one of their favourite foods is snakes.
I was working in a reserve in the Lowveld in the Sabi Sands area. I heard over the radio that there was a honey badger attacking a python. I arrived at the sighting and I could see the honey badger running around in the grass. And then I eventually saw the snake. It was quite camouflaged in the long grass, and the size of it was immense.
The python is 4 times larger than the honey badger, who, amazingly, isn't deterred.
Probably about it. And this honey badger kept harassing it and biting it. It was tiring it out. I could see that it was taking a lot of energy for the snake to defend itself. The honey badger was just too quick. At one stage, the snake's tail came up, and because it was so disorientated and probably in a hell of a lot of shock and pain, it struck at its own tail.
Snakes don't have particularly good vision. Obviously just saw that tail move past in its line of sight, and it just bit.
Tried to climb up a small tree, but it was so weak it couldn't get away. Eventually, after about 10 or 15 minutes of watching this, the honey badger started to bite the snake quite savagely. The honey badger was just disemboweling the poor creature, bit it in the torso area and started pulling out intestines and things like that. It was quite a traumatic sight, and it wasn't very pleasant to see, but it is exactly what happens in nature.
One of the deadliest forces in nature is an elephant bull in must. Similar to human adolescence, the bulls are flooded with hormones, becoming unpredictable and dangerously aggressive.
My husband and I went camping in the Kruger National Park. Next to the road, we came across 2 elephants standing very closely against each other. And we stopped to have a look, because to us it looked as if they were playing. The playing, unfortunately, very soon turned into a vicious fight.
I think what we're seeing is not actually a fight between 2 bulls, but an attack of one bull on another. Generally, when bulls are fighting, they face one another head on, because that's the easiest way to defend yourself, and that's where you have the greatest punch.
It looked as if it was picking up the elephant on the ground with the tusks. The elephant just threw it down on the ground again.
But the older bull, who appears to be ill, doesn't fight back.
When a bull comes into must, his testosterone levels increase substantially, typically 3 times the normal benchmark. And so he just becomes this raging male hormone, which clearly has some impact on his behavior and his mood. He's frustrated, he's possibly disorientated. This other bull is not responding to him. And as a result of that, he pushes this other bull, and the bull just falls down and doesn't get up, which again suggests that there's something very wrong with this bull.
The younger elephant seems so baffled that he stops the attack.
He starts walking around the other bull. At one point, he actually lays his trunk over this bull. What he's doing is he's trying to work out for himself what is actually going on.
And the elephant kept on trumpeting.
The calls that we're hearing are not aggressive calls, they're not a sense of triumph that this bull has, they're distress calls. They're confused calls, they're almost cries for assistance.
When the rest of the herd came, they made a circle around the elephant lying on the ground.
The response that a herd shows to the loss or the death of another elephant depends on the relationship that that elephant had with the herd. The herd doesn't have a strong enough bond with the bull that has fallen down to actually come to his assistance.
For onlookers, this was a difficult sight to witness.
It was a very, very vicious thing to see, because people think about elephants as these big animals, can't do anything wrong. So this opened my eyes, and I really don't want to see something like this again.
Whether these rare attacks are about food, finding females, or plain ferociousness, they're a fact of life in Africa. And thanks to some quick-thinking eyewitnesses, they are forever caught on camera.
Perfect hunters. The predatory cats are almost always carnivores. Their magnificent hunting technique has placed them at the peak of the food chain in every continent and in many habitats. All species possess very powerful muscular bodies, sharp teeth and claws, good senses, and fast reflexes. The largest predatory cats of the rainforests are the leopard and the jaguar. While the leopard is indigenous to Africa and Asia, the jaguar can only be found in the Americas. A black panther is actually a leopard with too much dark pigmentation. The coat appears to be completely black, although the coat's spotted pattern is always recognizable in certain light. In the case of leopards, the black coloring is caused by a recessive, albeit not outwardly visible, gene. This recessive gene can also exist in normal-colored leopards without actually having any influence on the yellow of the coat. This means that normal animals which have inherited the recessive gene can give birth to a litter with black leopards, even when both parents are normal. With jaguars, as opposed to leopards, this gene is dominant, so that black cubs can only appear if one parent is also black, although two black parents can also produce normal cubs. Jaguars are mavericks or loners, and depending on the accessibility of their prey, require a permanent territory of 25 to 150 square kilometers. only approaching others of the opposite sex during the mating season. Despite their heavy frames, they are good climbers and even excellent swimmers. Although jaguars are diurnal, they nevertheless spend half the day at rest, as we see here. When hunting, they sneak up on their prey, killing it with a powerful bite after a brief chase. The jaguar's menu consists of nearly all mammals native to the jungle, and even fish or small caimans. The puma is the largest among the smaller cats. Also known as cougars or mountain lions, they live in remote mountain regions of North and South America. The puma is a loner, avoiding others of its kind except in the mating season. Its territorial range, from 50 to 1,000 square kilometers, depends on food supply and access to sexual partners. Pumas prey upon mammals of almost all size and species. In North America, elk, deer, and reindeer are their favorite prey, although they avoid reptiles and carrion. Here we encounter an ocelot. Ocelots tend to be nocturnal hunters, whose main diet consists of smaller vertebrates. They belong to the Pardalis species, or Leopardus genus, of the Felidae family. Also known as the dwarf leopard, it is smaller in stature than its predatory cousins, and with a body length of 1 to 2 meters, about the same size as a domestic cat. Ocelots are characterized by a gray or yellow-brown pelt, which is flecked with black. All species are native to the Americas. Perfect hunters, the predatory cats are almost always carnivores. Their magnificent hunting technique has placed them at the peak of the food chain in every continent and in many habitats. All species possess very powerful muscular bodies, sharp teeth and claws, good senses, and fast reflexes. The largest predatory cats of the rainforests are the leopard and the jaguar. While the leopard is indigenous to Africa and Asia, the jaguar can only be found in the Americas. A black panther is actually a leopard with too much dark pigmentation. The coat appears to be completely black, although the coat's spotted pattern is always recognizable in certain light. In the case of leopards, the black coloring is caused by a recessive, albeit not outwardly visible, gene. This recessive gene can also exist in normal colored leopards, without actually having any influence on the yellow of the coat. This means that normal animals which have inherited the recessive gene can give birth to a litter with black leopards, even when both parents are normal. With jaguars, as opposed to leopards, this gene is dominant, so that black cubs can only appear if one parent is also black, although two black parents can also produce normal cubs. Jaguars are mavericks, or loners, and depending on the accessibility of their prey, require a permanent territory of 25 to 150 square kilometers, only approaching others of the opposite sex during the mating season. Despite their heavy frames, they are good climbers and even excellent swimmers. Although jaguars are diurnal, they nevertheless spend half the day at rest, as we see here. When hunting, they sneak up on their prey, killing it with a powerful bite after a brief chase. The jaguar's menu consists of nearly all mammals native to the jungle, and even fish or small caimans. The puma is the largest among the smaller cats. Also known as cougars or mountain lions, they live in remote mountain regions of North and South America. The puma is a loner, avoiding others of its kind except in the mating season. Its territorial range, from 50 to 1,000 square kilometers, depends on food supply and access to sexual partners. Pumas prey upon mammals of almost all size and species. In North America, elk, deer, and reindeer are their favorite prey, although they avoid reptiles and carrion. Here we encounter an ocelot. Ocelots tend to be nocturnal hunters, whose main diet consists of smaller vertebrates. They belong to the Pardalis species, or Leopardus genus of the Felidae family. Also known as the dwarf leopard, it is smaller in stature than its predatory cousins, and with a body length of 1 to 2 meters, about the same size as a domestic cat. Ocelots are characterized by a gray or yellow-brown pelt, which is flecked with black. All species are native to the Americas.